I'm back, and today we're talking about the Competition Pro joystick, one of the most iconic joysticks from the 80s. While it changed living rooms and bedrooms into arcades and provided entertainment for millions of gamers, nobody seems to know who created it. Was it Kempston in the UK? Was it SUZO in the Netherlands? Or was it Coin Controls in the USA? Even Wikipedia and other articles get it wrong. But I found the origins of the Competition Pro and I talked to its creators. Here we go.
Let's all turn on the tube. This is hot dog soup.
Allow me to introduce these two gentlemen. They are the unsung heroes of the golden years of home computer gaming. On the left, Mr. Cor Suverein from a company called SUZO in Rotterdam, the Netherlands. On the right, Mr. Frank Happ from a company called Happ Controls in Chicago, USA. During the 80s they were business partners as well as competitors. They are the ones that brought us the Competition Pro. I interviewed them both and this is the story of how it was created. If you're British, you're probably thinking right now, but what about Kempston then? All will be explained further on in this video. The Competition Pro is officially called the Competition Pro 5000 and it was released in 1983. It is widely known for its sturdy design, high build quality and reliability. Its shaft is reinforced with steel, uses pinball machine rubber to bounce and the injection molded housing is thick and durable. It had dual fire buttons that didn't support two different actions, but it offered great support for both left and right-handed players. Yes, in those days gamers had this choice, but it was taken away abruptly when some fool decided to make non-symmetrical game controllers. So, a very good joystick indeed that millions of gamers played with back in the 80s. It really had a large impact on our lives. The joystick was often the biggest purchase after the computer and it was always present near the computer. If the joystick was crap, you were crap too. And when playing with others, you would often fight over who got to use the better joystick. Of course, when losing a game, you would blame the joystick instead of yourself. Joysticks would be used daily for hours and hours on end. Perhaps even more so than any other toy. So I wanted to find out who created the Competition Pro, meet this person and thank them for the many hours of fun and entertainment they provided to me for years. Well, I am Dutch, obviously, with all the cheese and the clogs and such, so I started with SUZO as they were a Dutch company. I was delighted to find out that SUZO's owner during the 80s, you know, this guy, is still around and living in Rotterdam today. So I went to Rotterdam to interview him and thank him personally for making such wonderful joysticks. Mr. Suverein is a wonderful guy, now 80 years old. We talked about his life and career and of course about the Competition Pro joystick and its little sibling, a joystick called the Arcade. But more on that later. SUZO was founded in 1955, supplying parts and components for jukeboxes and later for other entertainment and casino machines. And they did that across Europe. SUZO started making joysticks around 1980. These weren't the gaming joysticks we know, but rather loose parts, which were sold to other companies in the field. However, a couple of years into the 80s, Mr. Suverein received a request from one of his customers. It was a British company called Coin Controls Limited, which since 1968 basically traded the same parts and components as SUZO did, you know, for vending, arcade and entertainment machines, except they catered for different international markets. Mr. Suverein was contacted by his business partner, yes, this guy, who was operating the American branch of Coin Controls. Mr. Happ asked Mr. Suverein if he was interested in a joystick created for home computer gaming. The joystick in question was called the Competition Pro. Frank Happ offered Cor Suverein a contract to supply parts for this joystick, help manufacturing it and also sell a small amount of them in the Netherlands. The designer of the Competition Pro was the same Mr. Frank Happ. However, Mr. Suverein did add a couple of things to the design of the joystick. He took a look at the Competition Pro and he thought, well, I can make a much better joystick than that. In its initial design, the Competition Pro only had a single fire button at one side, much like the Atari CX40 and the Wico Red Ball. Mr. Suverein told Mr. Happ that this would be terrible for left-handed users. So the design was changed to have two fire buttons. Also, in his Rotterdam factory, Mr. Suverein had thousands and thousands of microswitches laying around for parts. He decided to use those microswitches inside of the Competition Pro to improve on the leaf switch design by Mr. Happ. And the funny thing is, Mr. Suverein told me he did not do this to improve durability, reliability or lag for gamers. No, he just thought that microswitches sounded much nicer inside of the joystick. Yep, that definitely sounded great, didn't it? After SUZO started selling the Competition Pro in the Netherlands and several other European countries, Mr. Suverein started producing his own variation of the joystick, improving it even further. This SUZO version was cheekily called the Prof Competition and included microswitches even in the fire buttons, which the Competition Pro did not have. He also released a deluxe version which had an additional fire button at the top of the shaft. Mr. Suverein did this to basically fool around with his competitors and be able to say that his joystick was even better than the Competition Pro. This sounds very much like SUZO is now competing with Coin Controls as well as cooperating with them. Coin Controls did not sell any of the rights of the Competition Pro to SUZO, and Mr. Suverein basically copied most of their design. Well, yes, that was exactly what was happening, and even more competing would be coming up. After creating the Prof Competition, Mr. Suverein decided to create another joystick. This time he didn't blatantly copy the Competition Pro. He made the Arcade, which is based on the same materials and components as the Competition Pro, which were readily available in the SUZO factory. Microswitches were included in the fire buttons to once again try and thwart the Competition Pro, which kept the fire buttons operated by leaf switches. Despite an initial production run of 5,000 units, where 4,000 of them contained defective microswitches, the arcade joystick became very popular indeed. First in the Netherlands, later in Germany and then internationally. Several variations of the arcade were made by SUZO and they would sell over 1 million units. However, after prototyping a SUZO Superstick, SUZO no longer created anything new and kept producing the arcade until around the end of the 80s. Let's talk about Frank Happ, the person who designed the original Competition Pro. I wanted to interview him as well, and would you believe it, I was delighted to find out that he is still around and still living in Chicago, USA today. So I went to Chicago to interview him and thank him for creating such... Well, no, I couldn't afford that. I contacted Mr. Happ using FaceTime. Frank Happ is a lovely chap, 79 years old, and we had a wonderful conversation about his career, his companies and of course the Competition Pro joystick. In the early 80s, Mr. Happ played a lot of games on the Atari 2600. One day he took a look at the CX40 joystick by Atari and he thought, well, I can make a much better joystick than that. After considering Wico joysticks, which he didn't like, Mr. Happ decided to design his own joystick. He came up with a sturdy plastic base, a steel reinforced stubby knob and a single fire button. This new joystick cost around $7 or $8 to produce, so money could be made. As for naming the joystick, Mr. Happ came up with the idea of competition as he found playing games to be very competitive. He played a lot of Space Invaders against his wife and things would get very heated between them. So he wanted to use the word competition, but he also wanted to make it sound professional. Thus, Competition Pro was born and his employer, Coin Controls, started selling them in the United States. But a problem soon arose. Even though the Competition Pro sold very well, Coin Controls wanted to get rid of their joystick division. It was Mr. Happ himself who purchased it with a second mortgage on his house. He decided to call his new company Happ Controls. By doing so, Mr. Happ gained a license to sell the Competition Pro in the USA, and the deal also included the technology that SUZO was providing for producing the joystick. So now we know why some Competition Pro joysticks are branded Coin Controls and others are branded Happ Controls. Mr. Happ also introduced his joystick to another business partner of his called Ab Pandal. Mr. Pandal was a British-based entrepreneur who headed a company called Kempston Microelectronics in the town of Kempston in England. He started selling the Competition Pro in the UK under the Kempston brand. Kempston of course became a very famous brand amongst ZX Spectrum gamers, as the company created the joystick interface for that machine, which had no joystick port of itself. Nearly every ZX Spectrum game ever has a menu setting to select a Kempston joystick interface to play, basically creating free marketing for the Kempston interface and of course the Competition Pro joysticks the company was selling. And that's why everybody in Britain thinks that the Competition Pro was created by Kempston. This is even mentioned on Wikipedia and in this 2003 book from Germany called Joysticks by authors Forster and Freundorfer. I'm very sorry, but they are wrong. Happ Controls continued to produce and sell the Competition Pro joystick and created several variations, including different colors and different packaging. Extra features such as rapid fire and slow motion were added, and even a mini version was released for smaller hands. Different connectors were added for different platforms. A 2019 joystick called the Competition Pro USB and subsequent versions that were released by Speedlink are clones and not official ones. Happ Controls created an entire range of other Competition Pro joysticks, like the 200X, the 300X, the 1000 and the 3000. None of these joysticks used SUZO technology or micro switches, and they weren't as popular as the original and now iconic Competition Pro 5000, which would sell millions of units. When game controllers or game pads became a thing, you know, those user-unfriendly, ridiculously complicated, non-symmetrical devices with way too many buttons, Happ Controls started to make a series of game controllers for various consoles with Competition Pro branding. They were, however, designed and produced by a company called Honeybee. Around 1994, the days of the original Competition Pro 5000 and the joystick as a gaming device in general were almost over. Talking to Frank Happ and Cor Suverein, I asked him a couple of the same questions. One of which was if these joysticks were specifically designed to withstand joystick waggling. You know, slamming the joystick from side to side as quickly as possible, which was necessary in many sports games. Well, neither Mr. Suverein nor Mr. Happ knew what joystick waggling is and that it happened at all. Their joysticks were sturdy by design, simply because both companies already made joysticks for arcade machines that were built to handle aggressive gameplay. By the way, I made a video about joystick waggling techniques, link in the desk. As a final question, I asked both gentlemen if they were aware that still today, after over 40 years, their joysticks are still considered to be the best for vintage and retro gaming, and that they're still being maintained and repaired by enthusiasts. Both gentlemen weren't really aware of that, and they were sort of surprised and a little bit honored to find out that this was the case. In 2005, Happ Controls took over SUZO for $50 million and they combined into SUZO Happ, a company that still exists today. They internationally sell thousands of products for the entertainment industry, including touchscreens, coin mechanics, bill validators, light guns, buttons, buttons and buttons, and of course joysticks. Not for the consumer market, but joysticks nonetheless. Mr. Suverein and Mr. Happ, of course, are retired and no longer involved in this company. But wouldn't it be awesome if Mr. Happ and Mr. Suverein worked together one more time to create a modern version of the Competition Pro joystick? You know, with Bluetooth and USB-C and charging, etc. And mind you, Atari already did it. In 2024, they released the CX40 Plus, a modern version of their original 2600 joystick with Bluetooth and USB-C. Surely Mr. Happ and Mr. Suverein would be thinking, well, I can make a much better joystick than that. So I asked both of them about the possibility of creating a new version of the Competition Pro. They became immediately enthusiastic and started thinking about who to contact within the company today to make this happen. Well, of course, maybe this won't happen at all. But if it does, many vintage and retro gamers will be very pleased indeed. So let's do it, guys, and beat Atari and their crappy little joystick one more time. Mr. Happ and Mr. Suverein, if you're watching, I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for creating such a wonderful and magical device that really made an impact on my childhood and my early teens. It brought so much fun for millions of kids and teens in the 80s, and that is something you can really be proud of. You may not have realized it, but your joysticks truly played a major role in the wonder years of home arcade gaming. Basically turning our bedrooms into private arcades. Thank you so much. I'd also like to thank both gentlemen for their cooperation for this video and several people from SUZO Happ for helping me out. Thanks everybody for watching, happy gaming, waggle your joystick, and I'll see you next time.